What do you get when you take a Massachusetts comedian,
Drink as much as you can, drink as fast as you can, have some fun.
a Massachusetts politician,
I approve this message.
add 1 part sports, 1 part politics, and a healthy dose of unsubstantiated opinion? Sponsored by Weymouth Bank and Plymouth Rock Financial Partners. Here's Steve Sweeney and Joe Malone.
Hey, welcome to Sweeney and Malone. We are fired up tonight.
Oh, my God.
Sweeney is never happier than when the
tell you
Patriots
something.
are going to the Super
I got to
Bowl.
tell you something, because on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesday mornings, I go to the Dedham House of Corrections. Hi, Ryan.
What's going on?
You're leaving
Even-
people hanging there. You go to the house at Dedham House of Corrections.
Listen to me.
Yes.
Even in the jail, people are in a great mood when the Patriots win. Isn't
Yeah.
that amazing?
Of course they are. That was a great game.
Listen, Ryan, you're a young guy.
I am.
I want you to develop some gratitude, which you probably have, that we are one of 32 cities. Everybody in the country wants to be where we are.
You know, we're really lucky living
Oh,
in
it's
Boston with
unbelievable.
all the teams that we have.
And you know what? I hate to deflate people's egos when they deflate those balls.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh.
and we have a guest.
Yeah, we
Right-
do.
right here
Well,
in the
wait a
studio.
minute. Now, first of all,
Yes.
calling in
Yeah.
on the line at 6:20, just a few minutes
Yeah.
away from now, is George Montilio, the
Hey,
president of
I got to
Montilio's
apologize
Bakery.
to you. I
Go
talked
ahead.
to George's daughter.
Yeah.
I did not have time to go and pick up the pastries.
Oh, wow.
Besides that, I'm
you
con-
so to harken back to a line from The Godfather,
Yeah.
you forgot the cannolis.
Well,
Remember?
I'm concerned about Ryan's weight.
Okay, all right, yeah, he's beefing up. But that being aside, George Montilio,
Yes.
I asked him to come on tonight
Yeah.
because the wager between Governor of Massachusetts, Charles Baker,
Yes.
and the governor of Indiana was that if the Patriots lost, Baker said, I will send pastries from Montilio's Bakery, world-famous
wow.
Montilio's
It's Jolly-
Bakery
oh, that's
to Indiana.
cool. Yeah.
So fortunately, the Patriots won, so that George
Won.
didn't have to dispatch a driver.
Won.
Yeah, exactly.
That's more-
they
more like-
smothered him, right? By the way,
I have one question.
Margot the Magnificent is here, of course, who
Margot's
she
here, but
films
introduce
it.
our other guest, please.
And Bob, of course,
Yeah.
who is Mr. Patriot,
Patriot.
right? Bob, how do you pronounce your last name? We go through
Forget
this
the
every
D.
time.
Hilberg.
Right, no,
Hilberg,
listen.
right? No D.
Do you remember
Silent
when
D.
they would even write plays called Damn Yankees and the whole world hated the Yankees?
Yes.
My brother lives in Washington. His kids are in Philadelphia. He's in New York and everything. The whole world hates us.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're all talking about deflating the football and Imus. I mean, everywhere. It's
Even
great.
Imus?
You know, it's great.
You know, we're fortunate because Sweeney has studied deflated balls.
You know what?
And, yeah.
Let me tell you something. And I got this from a sports station. Oh, man. I'm going to get my facts all screwed up. But let me just put it this way. The Niners screwed with the
Salary cap.
Salary
Yep,
cap.
yep.
Denver did
Denver
something.
did. They did
New
the same
Orleans did something.
The bounty, right.
But when it's
Oakland
the
Raiders
Patriots,
did
yeah.
But as one
And
commentator
as Steve
put it,
Nelson said, everybody steals signals.
Yes, indeed.
Go ahead.
as one commentator
Yes.
put it, the Patriots could have replaced footballs with frisbees, and they still would have won 45 to
that's
7.
it.
Right?
Yeah.
I love our running back. I love
All
our
right.
chances.
Yeah.
And by the way, don't forget those offensive linemen, Stevie. You know, those were some nice holes being opened
my
up.
God,
those
I'm
guys are
telling
the unsung
You know what they
heroes.
reminded me of
What?
when they opened those holes? Is
Ryan, yeah.
as a producer.
Yeah, bam. He gets the job done. And he's a quiet hero. You know, let's face it, Larry Legend, he's the marquee guy. He gets all of the fanfare, all of the groupies.
I'm tired of
and
hearing
and
about
quietly behind the scenes, Ryan is a worker bee.
know. But the only problem I have with any of this is, and I might be off the money, I just hope that people are grateful to have such a franchise. Because like I said, I go to visit my brother in
Right.
Washington every year, the Redskins. Oh,
Yeah.
So, Steve, you can't control people's gratitude, and so just enjoy it.
No, but I have to remind them how lucky.
It's a special opportunity. There's no question.
No, I'll give you an example.
People in any part of the country, they would die.
Yeah.
What about Miami? When was the last time they went to the Super Bowl?
I'll give you an example.
Yes.
In 2000, maybe 7 or 2006, when did they play the Giants? When they had that fateful ending, that terrible ending?
Well, 2008, but that was end of 2007.
Okay,
season.
yeah,
Right.
okay. So 2008, just before the Super Bowl, I'm down in New York on some business, and the whole city was electric. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Everybody's, that's all they're talking about. Hey, the game, this and that. You come back to Boston, it was much lower, in terms of the excitement level. So, all
right, we got to go. We'll be back.
Here we go. Sweeney Malone, 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back with George Montilio.
Man, the man.
Yeah, baby. Welcome back to Sweeney Malone, 95.9.
This kid is on fire.
He's got a future. He has got a future. Larry's bringing him along slowly, which is the way to do it. The way to do it.
You know what? We should start doing outdoor remotes.
Yeah.
Right now, January.
Amen. You're right. Let's do it. We should go to Brockton, to Montilio's Bakery.
Is George on the line?
George, you on the line? Here we go. George Montilio. Jeez, we got no one here. Wow.
Is George on the line?
Yeah, I'm sure he's coming on here.
Well,
yeah.
Ryan, is George on the line?
Oh, he's
not.
No, he's not. No. But Ryan's going to call him, right?
Hey, listen, he's a baker, and if you really want to get high, go by a bakery early in the morning. I had the privilege, the honor, the unbelievable luck. When I was at CLX, I spent 2 weeks in Paris. Listen, this was a dream gig to cover Eric Clapton's European tour.
Really?
It was just like Hemingway. You go by the bakeries. You say,
I know, right? Something about a croissant in Paris. Wow.
I know.
George Montilio, welcome to Sweeney Malone.
How are you guys?
Wow, we're doing great.
Now listen, before we get to you, the important member of your family, Jenna, I just talked to her earlier, and she prepared some tray of stuff for us, but I couldn't get over there. So,
no kidding.
Yeah.
She said that they were the actual pastries that if Indianapolis had won, they would have been sent to the governor of Indiana, but we were going to get them here. Yeah. So, yeah.
Should have made it drive them down to you.
Yeah, well, that's okay. We're all still trying to lose some weight from the holidays. But here's the big question, George.
Sure.
What a great honor that of all the different treats that could be sent as sort of the part of the bet between Charlie Baker, our governor, and the governor of Indiana, they would say, let's turn to Montilio's Bakery because that's giving what's the best of Massachusetts. That's terrific.
I never thought of it like that, but you know what? We do a lot of events, but we were really happy to do that, and we loved. We were going to fight over who was driving out to Indiana if we had to, but we really didn't want to go.
What happened?
Yeah, but George, who was the comedian that helped you out when your place burned?
You were the one.
Wow.
A lot of money. You're a good guy, my friend.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I'm a regular at Montilio's Bakery, and I'm saying this, Joe, and you're Italian. You go in there for a sub sandwich. I'm telling you,
it's the best, huh?
It's all about the ingredients and. His daughter's wonderful girl. She just got married. And how many people at the wedding?
We had 450 people. It was a big Italian wedding, as they say. That's what it was.
Would you bring in some pastries from Sara Lee?
Yeah, we brought some Sara. But we were talking about Super Bowl, right? And all the different times we've done cakes. And I wanted to give you guys a couple of stories that were really the best one. The funniest one was the one down in Louisiana. When they had buried the tuna, we had the tuna was
Bill Parcells, yeah.
So George Regan calls me up and goes, "Hey, we need a cake down in Louisiana. We're having a huge party at the for the Massachusetts delegation that's going down. We're having it in the field on the other side of the Super Bowl field, right?" So I said, "Okay." I said, "Who's going to take it?" He goes, "Oh, we have a truck coming. They'll take it. There'll be no problem. It's one of the other bigger restaurants in the city." I said, "Well, that's great." I said, "We trade back and forth doing inaugural. We take the trucks down, or they take the truck down, so we all kind of get together." So this cake I make is 4 feet by 8 feet. The guys come to get it. They go, "We can't fit this in a truck. We're already fully loaded." He said, "We can't take this cake." So I said, "What do you mean you can't take it?" He said, "There's no room in the truck." So I said, "Well, I'm not driving to Louisiana. That's just like out of the picture." So we were stuck. So what we did was we called your friend at UPS. What was his name? He was actually, I just met him with you.
Neil Rossi?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Wow.
Neil Rossi comes down with all the boys from UPS. They walk around the cake. They take a look at it. I called them because I asked them if they could probably take it down with one of their trucks. And the next thing you know, Neil comes back in the building. He goes, "We're taking it.
Oh, my
taking
God.
our jet. We're putting the cake on the jet." He says, "You guys want to go with us?"
Oh, my God. How great is that? Oh, jeez.
Another great Super Bowl story. And
George.
they ended up in a field out there somewhere.
That is funny. Wow. Yeah, I mean, you guys. I remember when Pavarotti came to town. There was a cake. There was a life-size grand piano, right?
Correct. Yeah, we made a life-size piano. Yeah, he came up and he licked the keyboard.
Oh my God! How funny is that?
Yeah, they're all over him. He was fun. That was a funny night too.
What's the most unusual request you've had for a cake?
Well, we did one for an 18. Just lately, we did one for 18 kids. We did a life-size Harry Styles out of cake, like the musician, Harry Styles.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, that was kind of like for 18 kids. We did a full body cake, like stand up, and we had to wheel it into
a full body cake.
Full body, like standing up, like there he is with his microphone in his hand, and we wheeled it up into the woods, and they had a paintball thing going on up there, and that was a pretty extravagant request. I mean, we get a lot of different things, But
I go in. I go in there. I'm a regular at Montilio's, and
yeah, he's always there.
These girls, these young girls, they're getting married, and they're sitting down, and it's these crucial decisions.
Now, George, how many wedding cakes do you do on a spring weekend?
We go up to like 80. We're in the 80. 85, 84.
George,
we're in that range on the busiest weekends, like down the end of June or October.
So basically, all the venues around Massachusetts.
All over the place. We go from New Hampshire to Cape Cod.
Do the grooms ever take part in any of this?
Very rarely. They
don't want
the wives and the there are a lot of the younger couples coming with the grooms. The older the brides.
George, I think when Sweeney ties the knot, I'd like to see him get involved in the decision making on the cake.
I'll tell you, I'm not going to get married.
Wow.
But I am going to have a birthday, and I'm going to go down there and I'm going to have a nice big cake. But
you come down and see me.
But by the way, George,
and I'll take good care of you.
All right.
Let's get the address out of your place in Quincy.
It's 638 Adams Street, right off of East Milton Square.
And you got one in Braintree, right?
Yep, at Five Corners up by Burlington Coat Factory, and then the factory's in Brockton down on Spark Street, down by the Lithuanian Village.
All right.
Jeez, we need a Montilio's like down on Route 53 near Norwell.
God, no more stores.
No more
Come
stores?
and drive up and get all the desserts you want. I'll give you a discount.
His other daughter is beautiful too, and she's the twin.
I'd love to.
She's the twin sister of Jenna. But I want to plug also the pizza. I'm kicking myself that I couldn't pick that up today.
Steve, I'm killing myself that you couldn't pick it up also too.
You know what,
Steve? Do you have a favorite dessert? Is it a cannoli?
You know what? I'll tell you. I want you to really think about this, okay? A cannoli is too much.
Too much? No way.
It's too delicious.
With a nice
a cannoli
cappuccino.
Or cheesecake, it's over the top.
Cheesecake is a decadent thing.
I mean, I find there's not. The first time I ever had a cannoli, growing up Irish, was probably in my 20s. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like a cannoli.
I know, right? Especially when they're just filled. When they're nice and fresh,
God,
George.
Oh yeah, the girls do them. He sees them. They fill them right there, right in front of you.
But there's something.
Jenna wants it done, and that's the way it's done.
But there's something not right about eating one. This just is not right.
Stevie, what kind of sandwich do you get when you go to Montilio's?
I get an Italian sub.
Nice.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, stuff up there is really good.
Because it's all about the ingredients.
So, George, for my birthday, which will go numberless, it created a cake. Half of it was unbelievable. Banana and with like a chocolate.
Oh, banana split.
Yeah, banana split with beautiful whipped cream frosting. The other was like a strawberry shortcake. Oh my God, George. Jesus.
I know.
All good.
Wow.
All good for the calories, but that's okay.
But you know what? That was worth it. That was worth it. And it had a lightness to it that was great.
Yeah.
How many people do you employ, George?
We have a little under 100. Between the three operations, we have about 60 in the factory.
Now, do you still get up early and bake?
Only when I have to, if I get that emergency call. But no.
Did you ever
like
get
an 8 o'clock guy? I stay till like 8 o'clock. 8 to 8 or 8 to 7. That's my hours.
Did you ever get high off the fumes in a bakery, George? Be honest. fumes are
Get high
unbelievable.
off the sugar. If you eat too much sugar, you get.
I'm telling you, the fumes are unbelievable. Especially,
Yeah.
is there
Well,
any
you
smell
can
in the
get you
world?
going.
Is there any smell in the world better than bread baking in the early morning?
Nothing better. Oh, the bread's the best. When you do the bread,
Oh, yeah, huh?
you know,
Jeez.
they did a thing one time on carbohydrates at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock. You ever notice how your body craves something around 34?
Oh, especially
Worst time for bakery, and that's the biggest part of our business in the afternoons. People come in and run in and get something before they go home.
Yeah, but you got a wonderful family. That's the main thing, and the people that work there, and I can't say enough about it. And we wish you the best of luck.
George, how old is the business? How long has it been in?
75 years last year.
I used to go when it was in Park Square.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Hey, actually,
my
George,
father
can you?
before me, Ernie started right out of the war.
George, can you
Started in Quincy Square.
George, can you stick around? We're going to take a quick break. Can you?
go ahead.
All right,
I'm around.
Sweeney Malone, 95.9. We're talking to George Montilio of Montilio's Bakery. We'll be right back.
Here with Joe Malone and our very special guest, Bob.
Bob, what about George Montilio?
George is on the line.
George,
Before we get to that, I want to say hello to our friends. We're broadcasting to what town?
Raynham, Mass.
Yeah.
Raynham, and
which is the gateway to Taunton.
Can you? And what's the name of the station?
The Raynham Channel.
Listen, folks, if you are watching this, can you let the Raynham Channel know that you're watching it? We were guessing off the air how many people watch. I said 3.
Oh, you know what?
So
He's
give
so
them your name.
sarcastic. We are so fortunate to have Margot here.
Give them your name and let them know that you're watching. So, George, Joe had a question.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, George, we have a special guest in the studio tonight, and he wanted to give you a special introduction. You may know him, Howard Cosell. For years, he was on Monday Night Football.
There he was, a youngster with a family business. They call him the baker. They call him the baker of Quincy. But little did he know, and little did the world note, that when George Montilio and his entire family started baking, down goes the cupcakes.
Yeah.
Down goes the cupcakes.
Yeah. All right, there you go.
Very good, Howard. Thank you so much.
All right. See?
You're still alive?
Oh, yeah. Very few people know that, but he's doing special projects for the Sweeney Malone show.
Think of how homogenized, how manufactured these commentators are now, except for my guy Gruden on Monday night. Compare Howard Cosell with those guys. Howard had some character, some.
Did.
People either loved him or hated him, but what he had the art of doing, he could raise the stature of any event.
Yeah,
you could have a Tiddlywinks game, and it'd make it seem like the world was depending on who won this game. You know.
But I love Gruden. He's my favorite.
Yeah, he
He's
is
a great
good.
animal.
But you're right.
Absolutely.
But a lot of mediocre guys out there.
Yeah.
A lot of mediocre.
Corporate America.
Al Martin's got a little cat. Al Michaels,
about
rather.
Corporate America. What have you seen as a change in the business of baking and bakeries and with the whole 9 yards, George?
What's changed?
Yeah.
Pretty much, you know what? Everybody's getting back into the tradition. Everybody comes into Montilio's looking for the tradition. They don't want anything to change too much.
Nice.
They've had enough of all the new stuff. You can go out and get all the new stuff everywhere you want to go, but if you get to Montilio's doors, if we go too far off the right to the left, you get complaints from the customers. You know, it's like, you go to your same old place where you used to. But that's why we built our business. You know.
So
when you say the new stuff, what do you mean?
Well, a lot of gluten-free stuff comes out, a lot of sugar-free, and we try to say, look, we're in the party business, we're in the entertainment business. If you want to get into health foods and all the different things like that, you know where you can find that thing at different supermarkets and stuff like that. But once we start converting and we start to lose, it'd be like you going into one of your best steak restaurants and saying, oh, we don't have that anymore. The steak we have is gone because it was, too much fat in it for you. You wouldn't go back there.
Right.
Kind of like what you're looking for is taste, and memories, and that's kind of what we keep doing. And I keep telling my help, don't change anything. We try not to change anything. Where we do offer a few things to keep up with it, probably 20% of our menu changes over every couple of years. But you really get an 80% core business: rum cakes, the white cake, the way we make the eclairs, the custards. You can't change any of that. Those formulas are tried.
So, George, those are recipes and those are traditions that came from Italy. Am I correct?
Well, Well, a lot of it did. My father started in New York, okay, working for an Italian and German baker, Roper Pastry in New York City. And then when he came back to Boston, he took over underneath. He worked in the basement of my grandfather's he had a little rotisserie chicken pizza place, and Ernie worked in the basement and built making cakes, and then he started moving my grandfather out. The more he started putting more showcases, and the next thing you know, it turned into a bakery. So it's funny, the sign said pizza, rotisserie chicken, and all of a sudden there's wedding cakes all lined up in the window.
yeah.
Hey, is Phil going to call us from New York?
Phil's calling us at 6:40, yeah.
You know what? I'm going to ram him. But one of the things that, I don't have this big New York versus Boston thing. I think I hate when people say the Yankees suck and all that. I think it's childish. But one of the things about the old New York, which they're losing because of all these changes, those little bakeries, those little restaurants. It's beautiful, the little neighborhood stuff.
Oh, the Bronx and all up the side streets, the east side, the west side, they have all those little shops. The only problem with changes those things in time is the rents. The rents have changed the whole.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Do you know Ronnie Romano by any chance?
No,
They had a little
local?
store. They had a little store like you on Newbury Street, a little coffee shop. Romano's.
Oh yeah, Romano. Sure, I know those boys. Yeah.
And
Yep.
the rents that they had this beautiful little place, and the rents they just kept going up.
The story they tell on Newbury Street is that nobody makes any money other than the landlords. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You work day and night, and there's some exceptions to be sure, but
Right.
the
Well,
rents are so high.
Back that up. I looked at my old store in Boylston Street where we were, back in the 80s, 90s. And so I called up the sign. It was empty. The store was beside it was empty. Same size store. And so I was paying $10,000 a month rent.
Oh my God!
Of
Jeez.
5,000 square feet.
Wow.
500 on the first floor, 2,500 on the second floor. So that was decent rent back in the 80s, right? So what do you think the rent is today? I'll tell you what it is. It's $35,000 a month.
Holy mackerel.
Plus
Imagine that.
all the expenses. So the
Jeez.
rent, the taxes and all the other. How can you make any money?
Oh, my God. It's crazy. So George, you never thought of putting something in the North End, huh? Just
It's too expensive right now.
Yeah, really, huh?
Everything, if you don't buy the building, you can't make any money.
Jeez.
Oh, and you
I
got
tell
a
you
lot
though,
of
you know what?
competition with the
Sweeney
modern
can go in there. Sweeney goes in there and he shakes people down.
Go
That's,
to Mike's. You go to Mike's.
He makes
and,
threats.
Mark.
Where do you go, Mike? Where do you go?
You know what? I love Mike's, but there's always a line, so I'll go to the Modern sometimes.
Okay, all right,
And,
very
Go
good.
to both.
Yeah, as Yogi Berra said, nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded.
It's too crowded. But
Yeah.
you know what I love about them? What I love to do in the North End is go to the little cheese stores.
Oh.
You'll find
yeah.
a lot of
It's still the
lot of
best.
little things.
Yeah.
But listen, George, I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Okay.
And,
You.
Yeah, George Montilio, ladies and
good
gentlemen.
job.
George Montilio.
all right, and
I'm going to send some cakes down.
You know what, George?
Well,
I tell you what, from what Sweeney says, it's all about those sandwiches. Jesus, he
I'll
talks.
send those down. I'll send some pizza.
He talks about it, and he's got a look on his face like he's fallen in love.
let me tell you something. There's a movie.
You guys
called-
are funny.
There's
Great.
a movie called Eat, Pray, Love. Did you ever see it?
I did not.
All right,
No.
so you're supposed to leave with this spiritual experience,
Yeah.
but all I wanted to do was eat afterwards because she goes to Italy, she goes to Milan.
Oh, beautiful.
Remember even in The Godfather when they're making the pasta
Yeah.
before they
Oh.
go to the mattress?
Oh,
That,
Let 'em have
that
more
what a great
wine.
expression of love, George, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it sure is.
So,
my
so,
friend.
so
That's
George, come springtime, we'll go play a round of golf. We'll bring
know
Sweeney. He'll cheat. He'll welch
gotta-
on bets,
gotta cheat. Hey,
and then
Ryan.
we'll go break bread.
Let me ask you
I
something.
want those special filled Olivers. You know, Joe, those Olivers with the
I
special
wanna-
Yeah,
filling.
yeah.
I
With
want
the
to
blue
ask.
cheese.
I want to ask our producer here, Ryan. Ryan, is Quincy too far to do a remote for this station?
It's difficult.
It's difficult. What about Braintree?
We can do it. Ryan, we'll
listen.
do it.
What I'm
Well,
thinking
do
is,
it.
what I'm thinking is, we
We
do
have
one
some
from Montilio's,
Yeah.
in Quincy.
Yeah.
We'll have you guys cooking up a storm.
Oh, and we'll play
going crazy.
Sinatra music the whole night,
Forget
George.
about it.
We'll have it. We'll do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
George,
All right.
thanks for
Thanks,
joining
George.
us. George Montilio,
guys.
ladies and
Go
gentlemen,
Patriots.
the iconic Montilio's Bakery. If you haven't tried their products, if you're getting married, buy a wedding cake from there. It's unbelievable. George, thanks, brother.
Okay,
All right.
guys.
Take care.
Let's.
We'll-
talk-
yeah, go ahead. We'll be right back
We'll be
with
right
Sweeney
back
Malone,
with Phil from New York. We're
95.9.
gonna ram him.
Yeah.
Is Phil on the line?
Oh, yeah.
I am on the line.
All right,
yes,
now wait a
I
minute.
am.
Phil, before I ram you, which I am going to ram you, the movie by Martin Scorsese, New York, New York.
Yeah.
I want to give, Liza Minnelli credit because that was the original.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
although Frank made it
Yeah.
a signature tune.
Yeah, but you know what? What does that say about Frank? That he took a song that probably would have just,
No, it's a great
died on
song.
the
I
vine
don't
with
think it
Liza
would've died.
Minnelli singing it.
No, I don't
And he
think
took
so.
it to the next level because he
took
was
it there.
Mr.
He
New
took-
York.
He took it to the top.
Yeah, a poor kid.
Hey,
It was
number
him.
But
a
I
poor
like-
kid. He wasn't Judy Garland's daughter. He was a poor kid from Hoboken
well, wait a
who
minute.
came across the river, who did what nobody thought he could do, right?
When
He did. Now, listen, Sweeney, before you ram me,
Yes.
Oh.
I just want to, as an ambassador from New York, all of us New Yorkers want to extend our congratulations.
that is very
on
gracious.
A
That's
great
very
win.
gracious.
Another Super Bowl for the Patriots. Fantastic.
All right.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
But I got to
Thank
say
you.
one thing. Why every time there's a win up in New England, there's got to be a taint involved.
No, listen.
Oh, geez.
Now I'm gonna
He
I'm
slipped
gonna
that
I'm
in.
gonna get
A
serious.
taint. There's a taint
Listen to
every
me.
time. What is that? Explain that to me.
Phil,
No,
you
wait a
know,
minute.
you
You know
started
what?
out
The
good.
Rams,
You know
that
what?
wasn't tainted.
You know what? I'm gonna get serious for a minute here. Okay, as I said earlier in the show, my brother lives in Washington. He's all over the country, and I've talked to my friend Jay Charbonneau in California. We are like the Yankees. Everybody hated the Yankees, so they found a reason to taint them. This is the most bogus thing I have ever heard in my life. Steve Nelson, Tim Fox, anybody who ever played football will tell you that all of the teams steal signals. Okay, that's number one. Number two, there's other teams that have violated the salary cap, which is a much more serious offense. No one talks about them. This is a country of freaking sore losers. There is no taint on this. All right, you want to talk about the deflated
They
ball?
were deflated balls,
All right,
squishy
now listen.
balls with a taint, man.
You're the last person that should talk about deflated balls because I know
And
people that go to
taint.
scores.
Yeah.
All right, now listen. The running back Blount got 158 yards, something like that. Now, what does the ball have to do with that?
No, you're right. He was incredible. He was a man possessed on Sunday, boy.
Come on. Do you?
But maybe with the ball tucked in there, hard to punch it out a little bit, right?
Oh, that could have
It's
been a
not the-
38-point
it's not the
difference,
squishy
Phil.
ball.
You
There
know
was
what?
only one ball that was
I agree
deflated,
with you.
and
I
they
mean,
caught it.
it didn't change the outcome of the
set you guys
game.
up.
I
Now, listen,
agree, but
I don't. You're losing credibility. If you I want to have a high level discussion with you. Do you actually think this is an issue?
He's busting. That's what he's doing. He's busting. Like
I'm
any
not
New
sure.
Yorker.
I'm
Have
not
you ever
sure.
gotten into a cab in New York? Have you ever talked to somebody on the streets of New York? They're busters. They're busters. Now, the truth be known, Phil,
it was
Phil,
an
if you're a
incredible win in a
Thank you.
playoff
Yeah.
game, in a championship game. Now you got to move on, and you got to take down those Seahawks.
Seattle's
Who
the
likes the Seahawks? Nobody on the East Coast
No.
wants the Seahawks.
Seattle is
to
the
win.
luckiest team I've ever seen. As Joe pointed out, the guy makes an interception, takes a knee rather than running.
Yeah, with 5.5 minutes
Okay.
to go. Are you serious? Jeez.
The 2-point play, I don't know what the defensive guy was doing. He was watching a movie. And then that onside kick is the biggest mental mistake I've ever seen. Why does the guy try to catch the ball? I don't get it.
Yeah, no.
It's
It
supposed
was
to
one
block.
thing after another. If you didn't know any better, you'd think they were on the take. That two-point conversion, it's like, okay, I'm going to throw the ball 35 yards and float it up in the air, and the defensive back is 3 feet away, and he can't move 3 feet to knock it down.
It was a
Are you
mental,
kidding me?
It was a mental lapse.
You know, and you get guys like Sherman coming into the game this week. He's banged up. You got the other cornerback who's got a dislocated
The
shoulder.
reason I think the Patriots are going to win is the amount of time that Aaron Rodgers had. There's no pass rush. If you want to beat Brady like the Giants did,
Yep.
you run, you push it right up the middle. Right, Phil?
Yeah. And you know who I really like on the Pats? I like Ninkovich.
Yeah.
I like-
He's, as someone said, he's like what was the other guy with the
Mike
V?
Vrabel.
Mark Vrabel. He's like the clone of Vrabel, right?
And he
That
plays
guy
just about
has a
every
nose
play,
for
too.
the ball.
Yeah.
He's not
Yeah.
going to let that quarterback get around the corner, you know.
He
They're not
knocked
gonna
down
let him
2
run all
passes.
day on
No.
you.
He's a
I
smart.
think I like the Pats' chance. I like the motion on the offense. They're very complex, confusing sort of setup.
Seattle had a real letdown that game. I don't understand it. They did not play well.
Yeah, now it's not going to be a walk in the park, but
What
if
happened-
they
what-
play their game, the Pats are going to win. That's my
All
prediction.
right, I
coming
like
from
it.
New
I
York.
like it, Phil.
Hey,
I
Phil.
like it.
Phil, just being a football fan like you and I are, right? What happened to Seattle? They were not good that game.
Seattle. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the guy had a 0 quarterback rating for the first half. They put no pressure on Rodgers. I don't know. It was very bizarre. You know, a team that had been peaking. Seattle had been peaking all year. They won their first game in very decisive fashion. They must have a lot of doubts on their side.
Do you think it was that Seattle didn't play well or Green Bay played well?
You know, I think like in all those games, I think it's a combination of both. Seattle, there's a team that usually put a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterback.
No, but you know what? Here's my Phil. Here's my contention. Both those teams played poorly.
Green Bay too. In the second half.
Yeah, but
they had opportunities too.
Oh my God! I mean,
4th and goal.
Yeah,
Twice within the 5-yard line.
You know what? That Rodgers is the best. He's the best.
But he had a mediocre game. He threw, and he was hurt. Let's say, you know, you could see when he tried to run for first down. But he had 2 interceptions, and then the coach McCarthy for the Green Bay. This 4th and 1 from the 1-foot line, and you got Lacey, who's a bull in the backfield. Phil, do you go for it on 4th and 1?
Every time.
Yeah, otherwise, I'd be accusing you of having deflated balls.
You're going to knock Ed Perry right off the
head. Listen to me.
What?
Make sure they win this game with no taint, okay?
Yeah, that's, you know, Phil. Let me tell you, everything from video gate and everything else, please, don't go there. That cheapens New York.
But listen.
Yeah.
I want
and by the way, you, with the Yankee A-Rod, who's taken every steroid ever known to man, right?
Almost everyone, not quite.
Hey, Phil, we got to...
wait a minute. Yeah. I got to throw something out.
Go ahead.
This is an odd thing. Mike McCarthy, they asked him about that call, 4th and 1, and you go for the field goal. He said, well, I wanted to go for the touchdown.
He's the head coach.
But what?
I know.
Yeah.
So who didn't want? Who overruled him?
Well, that's what I'm telling you. That's what he said.
Brain fire.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. He makes the decision. What does offensive coordinator make the decision?
Right.
Come on.
Is the owner calling
You're the
it
head
down?
coach. Take responsibility for your team's actions.
Absolutely.
Right.
But you know what? I do give him credit for sticking with Rodgers. Remember that Brett Favre kind of controversy many years ago?
Yeah. What has he done for Green Bay lately, though?
That's the question.
Rodgers is tremendous. One of the best ever.
He's got a great heart.
Yep. Good guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Aaron Rodgers, he was hurt. You know, look, he played a great game. They played for 3.5 quarters.
Oh, God.
You know, they're up, what were they up, 14 points with 2 minutes
I would have loved to see
Plus, Rodgers deserves credit because along with Ickey Woods, he's got one of the best commercials on TV. Ickey's got the best.
Ickey's got the best.
You see the joy Ickey feels when he gets that number call?
I'll tell you something. Peyton Manning could be an actor. His commercials consistently
but he's white bread. He's white bread. Ickey,
but he's funny.
Ickey brings it.
That's people like
Ickey
him.
slams. You see the way Ickey slams down the cold cuts?
Commercial.
Yeah.
But
what about any of the Pats? You got any like Will Fork? Anybody in any commercials up in New England?
The most colorful player is Gronk, and I pray to God that freaking Belichick isn't going to bench him, do something stupid because Gronk tweeted out, "You get deflated when you get gronked."
Yeah.
I hope that he doesn't do like he did with Walker.
Imagine he sits them out to the Super Bowl to teach them a lesson.
Oh,
yeah.
No, you know what? Please, Belichick, don't do that.
Well, Bill listens to this show. Coach, we know you're listening. Yeah. Don't do that because if you do that, you will not hear the end of it from the Sweeney and Malone listeners.
You know, if Belichick had kept the job with the Jets, the shoe would be on the other foot
not
with
the
Phil.
truth. You're right, Phil.
What? If Belichick had been with the Jets, we would have had Brady.
Really?
Right? We would have had Brady. We would have had a freaking dynasty down here.
Even without Brady, with Belichick, you'd have had a hell of a run. The guy is a genius.
Yeah. I know, you guys. I'm telling you, you're living the dream.
Hey, so do the Jets have a coach? Who's their coach yet?
Yeah, they got the defensive coordinator from the Arizona Cardinals. I think his name is Bowles. I don't know much about him, but we'll see.
Hey,
Yeah,
how does you know what? The Denver Broncos get in the playoffs 2 years in a row. They
Right.
get to the Super Bowl and they fire the coach.
Yep.
Well,
Goodbye.
because as Tim Fox said when he was on last week, Elway has got a huge ego, and he wants a coach he can control. So who does he pick? Kubiak, who was his backup quarterback, who has sort of a subservient kind of
It's
relationship
all
with
over
him, right?
now. It's
That's
all
it.
over. Manning's
That's
done.
it.
That would be like Brady becoming the head of football operations and him hiring Castle, you know?
Listen, if they win the Super Bowl, the people are going to say, "Okay, Brady's the best ever."
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They should already. He
absolutely.
is the
Yeah.
best already.
Yeah.
You
But
think
one
he
more
goes
is
right
no
past
doubt.
Montana and Johnny United?
I'm still a Montana guy.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
Montana.
I think if he wins this one, he goes beyond Montana.
I still
And
am.
plus,
Wow.
look at Montana now. He's groveling for free pizza.
Oh, will you stop it?
What? What?
You know what?
Yeah. You think I'm watching too much TV?
Jesus.
How about one of the greats, Joe Willie Namath?
Yeah, but he had a short career.
You know
the
what?
poor guy was
you know
crippled.
the great thing about Namath, he had a little bit of freaking color. to him.
Charisma,
I know, geez,
absolutely.
these guys are so
he
bland.
was the white Muhammad Ali.
That's right, Joe Willie Namath.
Yeah.
You know, Cosell would always name drop too about
Oh,
who he
yeah.
had lunch with. I happened to have lunch today with Joe Willie
yeah.
Namath.
Or look who just walked in the booth,
Look
right?
who just walked in the building.
Phil from New York.
That's right. It's Phil from New York, a youngster who attends Scores Strip Club nightly.
Yeah.
Lady Diane and Priscilla and Vanessa from Las Vegas are big fans of Phil.
Yeah. And Cheyenne loves him. Hey,
I
Phil.
love that. I love him. Howard Cosell.
Phil, have you
brought
seen
it back to life.
have you seen any good Broadway plays?
Nothing recently, my friend.
Have you seen Beautiful?
What's that?
Beautiful is about your friend, your dear friend, Carole King.
Oh, that's
I'd love to see that.
Yeah,
No, but I'd like to see some of these movies that are out before the.
There's a good
Academy
one with
Awards come by.
Denzel Washington who
called
plays
The
a sup-
Equalizer. I'm in it.
Yeah.
Nice.
How about American Sniper? Is that that's
my
supposed
80
to be?
it did 80 million.
They say it's an amazing movie.
Yeah.
But you know what? You got to get rid of that mayor. I don't like him.
Yeah,
at
I don't
all.
like him either. Phil,
Supposed to back up your police
Phil,
department.
he's
Phil.
a bad man. He's a communist sympathizer.
I've been calling him Comrade de Blasio ever since
Yeah.
I've been on your show. Ever
No.
since he's been elected.
Bad guy.
I think
Bad
you gotta- I
guy.
think
He's
you
playing
gotta-
class warfare.
I
He's
think
playing
you got to back.
divisive.
You know what? Something happens. You naturally you feel horrible for the family, and you say that. But you got to start by saying most police officers
Right.
are doing their
This
job.
is an
That's how you-
exception.
Yeah, you got to start that way.
Right,
Come on.
absolutely. He turns it into, it makes it sound like every New York cop wakes up saying, "Who can I
And look
abuse
what
today?"
what it resulted in.
Awful,
2 cops
awful,
being assassinated.
Awful.
Hey, is that one of the hardest jobs in the world? A police officer.
And you're making
Every day.
split-second decisions.
Yep.
We got these morons up here who are chaining themselves
you know
across
what?
Route 93.
Oh my God, I got stories about that, but we don't
Really?
have time.
Wow. All
We don't
right,
have
can I
time.
ask Phil an exit question?
Sure, go ahead.
Phil, earlier
Yeah.
we had George Montilio on here from Montilio's Bakery, right? It's a Boston iconic bakery. Do you have a favorite Italian pastry?
Cannoli is my favorite.
Yeah. Steve thought it was too rich, maybe, but I love a beautiful cannoli with
A
a crispy crust.
there's nothing like
Once
a
a
nice,
year.
tasty, rich cannoli. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
You like a
One-
nice cappuccino with it?
One cannoli per year. That's it.
Yeah.
Now, is this a place that I should make a point of going if I'm up in Boston?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, oh,
It's
yeah.
in Quincy. It's kind of like what you see maybe in the East Village, or you used to when it was Italian down there, Prince Street in the Village.
Oh, yeah. Oh, some beautiful Italian bakeries
Oh, yeah.
down there.
There's a city right outside of Boston, Phil, called Quincy. They have one of their places there. You go in there, your name, mention Sweeney's name, and they'll say, "What?
double
So
the
what?
price.
Yeah, so
They'll
what?
double
Yeah,
the
what's the
price.
big deal? Yeah." So anyway,
Now, if I mention the show, I get maybe a little free cannoli. Is what
yeah,
you're telling me.
maybe they'll throw you something. You don't know.
Let me tell you something. You come up here, Phil. I'll show you the best time of your life.
All right, come on up, Phil. Really, we
You know
haven't
what?
met you yet.
I'm going to make a point. The spring rolls around.
Yep.
The Pats are going to be Super Bowl
There you
champions.
go.
I want to
I
see
love
you
the
guys
parade.
celebrate.
Come on.
Yeah, come on up.
This will be Marty
or-
Walsh's first parade.
Yeah, we'll go to a Red Sox Yankees game. All right.
Wow.
Oh, How about
we'll
you
show
guys,
you right. We'll show you right.
They're going to have a parade for the Pats, right? I'd like to see you broadcasting that parade.
Wow, wouldn't that be great? We'll talk to Mr. Perry, see if we can get a little extra money put in the budget.
Mr. Perry is going to knock us off the air because of your comments.
No, come on. Mr. Perry should send us to Arizona to cover the Super Bowl.
We don't need any more comments about deflated balls, okay?
You took in the wrong direction. For God's sakes, I was talking about what happened or what allegations were made after the game last Sunday. Phil from New York, thank you, brother.
Did you?
Okay, my friend.
All right, and let me hear you say, "Go Patriots." He's gone.
Now that particular single and album, "Born in the USA," that took Springsteen to another level of popularity. I saw that tour, the Born in the USA tour. I saw the River tour. I saw many years ago the Music Hall. But that particular, you know what was great? It's he took what he does, which was always this anthems and hometown stuff, but he made it fun with that song.
Right,
he sort of brought it into the disco.
He adapted to the times.
Now, you know who adapts to the times?
Who?
One of the greatest political analysts of all time. He's an author, and he's my friend. And I'm going to introduce him on the air right now, Todd Domke.
Thank you. That's a very kind introduction.
He's
and
humble.
I too was born in the USA.
And you know what? And you seem humbled by that introduction,
well,
Todd.
I think that's my favorite honorific.
Now I know, Todd, and we're very honored that you would call in. I know that you're on your deathbed.
Yes. I've had this severe cold for some time, and then I just heard your weather report, so I just put on 2 more sweaters.
All right, so listen.
Do you have the chills?
Oh, I'm okay.
All right,
whether I'm on Dayquil or Nyquil, it depends.
All right,
take a lot of vitamin C and chicken soup.
Get on Dayquil, Nyquil, or between Quil. But right now, Todd, I'm asking you as a friend, and we are friends, give us a little freaking energy because it's very depressing.
Yeah. And by the way, in addition to our listenership throughout the South Shore, Boston, Southeastern Mass, we also are covered now by cable TV. So, so if you don't project, the people of the greater Raynham area are going to say,
you can do it. The show must go on, Todd. We want the dynamic Todd Domke.
Yeah, in the tradition of all the great analysts.
Now listen, Todd. I maintain, and Alyssa Presley and Joe Malone maintain that it's not exciting, but I think Mitt Romney, great candidate.
Well, I see that there's a lot of excitement by Democrats for Mitt Romney. I see a lot of Republicans.
No, but the argument that he can make is I was right. He can say, look, I pointed this out for foreign affairs. I pointed this out with economy. He's got a strong argument. Plus, he's already been
but a lot of those, not too many people get elected by saying, I told you so. And yes, he was right on some things. He was wrong on other things.
Okay.
Now he's flip-flopped to where he's the great poverty warrior or whatever. But the big difference, though, Steve, is that now foreign affairs is so much more important. And Mitt Romney doesn't have any foreign affairs or military background, so it's not as if that gives him any.
Look at the other candidates. You got Scott Walker, who is a governor. He doesn't know anything about foreign affairs. Jeb Bush, who was the governor of Florida. We're all tired of the Bushes. You know, come on.
I know. I agree that we don't have any obvious, heroic general like a Dwight Eisenhower or anything like that. But there are some candidates who, like, let's say present governor John Kasich, who was a former congressman. He knows a lot about foreign affairs from his time there, and there are others who will have credibility. All I'm saying is it's not as if the whole nation, is behind a draft of Mitt Romney.
No, but it is something different. A guy who
is different. No, it's going to change the dynamic of the race if he gets in, because it looked like Jeb Bush, as the front runner, could become, the candidate of the established wing of the party, and against a whole lot of conservatives splitting the other side of the party.
Jeb Bush looks like a guy who works in a hardware store. There is no charisma there. We're all tired of the Bushes. I don't see any electrifying campaign behind Jeb Bush.
No, I agree. He's not exactly a charismatic candidate.
No.
But some candidates who are more charismatic, like a Marco Rubio or whatever, to some people, he doesn't have the experience.
Maybe that. You know what? That's interesting. Maybe just as a horse race, forgetting issues. Maybe a guy like Rubio or somebody like that might light people up. He's the one. He's the one from
Florida.
I agree.
And as much as I am not a Mike Huckabee fan, with the religious right and with the Iowa caucus beginning, and with South Carolina being so important, with southern states being so important in the Republican primaries, Mike Huckabee is not to be ruled out. I mean, he has a wing of the party behind him.
So here's the thing that hits me here. I am convinced that the next president of the United States will be a Republican for a lot of reasons. First of all, what I call the pendulum effect. Eisenhower gets 8 years, then Kennedy / Johnson get 8 years, and then Nixon gets 8 years, all that. Okay, so now we're at the point where people look at Obama and they say, you know what, it seemed like a good idea at the time, and vis-a-vis Romney for re-election, it still seemed like a good idea. We need to turn the pendulum back where government isn't so big, where the redistribution of wealth isn't so great, and that we have a foreign policy that makes some sense.
But people don't think that way, Joe. That if you take the Spanish vote, the black vote, the ultra-left vote, that's a lot of votes. That's a lot of votes.
But let's take that for a second.
All right.
It shows in the off-year election, unless you have a black at the top of the ticket, the black vote doesn't turn out to the degree that it does when there is someone like Obama at the top of the ticket. So
it's possible, though, that the Democrats would have as a running mate a black candidate or an Hispanic.
Like DeVal Patrick.
Right. Well, but the big hope for the Democrats, though, Joe, is that this turnabout for Obama and that his popularity has been going up after the election, that continues, so that they would then point to the example of Ronald Reagan serving 2 terms and then his vice president, George H.W. Bush, winning. And let's keep in mind, right before the midterm of his second term, Reagan wasn't that popular. In 1986, the Democrats did quite well. Then he became, more popular as the economy improved after that. And that's what the Democrats are hoping, that with the improved economy and with now Obama being more assertive, as we'll see in the State of the Union speech, that he swings it so that Hillary Clinton.
Oh, is that tonight, by the way?
Yeah.
Hey,
and by the way, if I may, regarding the State of the Union speech, they showed Obama is going to, after the State of the Union speech, do interviews. You see who he's interviewing
some
with?
Comedian.
No.
It's like MTV,
yeah, she's a comedian.
Blogger comedians who are, some of the stuff they've done is so repulsive. One woman sat in a bathtub naked, eating cereal, and it was filled with milk and cereal, eating the milk and cereal, drinking down the milk. Are you serious? I talk about demeaning the office of President of the United States and demeaning the State of the Union address.
Yes, what kind of cereal was it, Joe?
I think it was Special K, which is healthy. But
if it was Wheaties, Breakfast of Champions, I think that would be different.
And now we send James Taylor over to France in the middle of the whole situation with terrorism. This guy is so far from what a president ought to be that I think the Republican in that environment running against Hillary Clinton gets a chance to really shine.
Well, I think it depends on the Republican Party.
Yeah, I agree.
On some of these policies with Obama after the election, polls show majority support for his policy on Cuba and his
I like Cuba.
Order on immigration. They don't necessarily want him to change the policy by executive order, but they favor his position on immigration. So all I'm saying is, if we had some Republican candidate nominated like Ted Cruz, then we're cruising for a big loss.
I agree. Cruising for a bruising.
Yes.
All right, let's go to the Democrats for a second. Now, this is the second time in a row that Hillary was inevitable, right? And Obama beat her.
Yeah.
And she's getting this move, and I can't believe I'm even saying this, but apparently there is a move towards Elizabeth Warren.
Yep.
God help me.
Yep.
So, but
it's real, and partly it's because there's a void of other prominent liberal populist types who could challenge Hillary Clinton, but by default she is that person. And yes, MoveOn.org's behind her. A lot of Democratic activists in New Hampshire want her to run. There's a whole liberal wing that's not happy with the Wall Street wing of the Democratic Party.
In other words, So she's got a few issues like colleges are unaffordable, which I agree with her or whatever. But as far as the human being or the person with the resume, Elizabeth Warren as president of the United States,
she would be a disaster.
Give me
an
a
absolute
break.
disaster.
I agree, and there's an extreme case of lacking foreign policy and military experience.
Any experience.
And I don't think she would. I could see her, frankly, pulling off an upset if she goes anti-war stronger, and if she emphasizes her economic populism against war. I could see her winning the Democratic nomination, but I don't see her winning the general.
Right. She would be a good candidate to run against. She is just way too far left.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
That's
but
right.
but forgetting the issues, Elizabeth Warren, commander-in-chief.
Oh.
Are you kidding me?
I know. No, I mean, I agree.
I mean, where are the statesmen? But boy, I don't know what to say.
So can
but who that? It's like, wow. Do you ever think that maybe there might be a health problem or a health issue with Hillary? I mean, she's getting older, isn't she?
Yeah, she looks.
But keep in mind, Elizabeth Warren's only 2 years younger than Hillary.
Wow.
She just looks younger.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't.
And she hasn't been around as long.
Yeah. Well, I think it is pretty stressful what Hillary had to go through with her husband and with her own political career.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
But I'll tell you something. We can talk all we want, but I talk to a lot of women. They want Hillary. They love her.
Isn't that crazy? Just like there was a whole movement of it's historical. Obama, the first black president.
Now, what about Charlie Baker? Are you excited he's governor? Did you
Are you
just
talking to me or Joe?
Yes, I'm talking to you, Todd.
Well, I think so far he has had a honeymoon, and I think he's deserved it, given that he hasn't made any mistakes. He's generally in a feel-good period now following Duvall. People want, including a lot of liberal Democrats, they want a governor who will be a Mr. Fix-It, who will actually be getting into the nuts and bolts of governing, who will start reforming things. And now, with his announcement that the deficit he inherits is $765 million. People are hoping for the best, that he can cut spending and get this done, because his position of saying no new taxes, I think, has widespread support.
So let me give you my take on this. And we saw it with DeVal Patrick. The state of the media has changed so dramatically. There's literally about 8 ringleaders in the media in this state. If they decide they're not going to kick the hell out of a governor, then the guy gets a cakewalk. And they decided that with DeVal Patrick. During the campaign, they decided that with Charlie Baker. Let me say this.
Okay.
The Globe went from a dead heat in the polls leading up to 11 days before the election. Suddenly it spikes to a 9-point lead for Baker, and everybody says, Baker's got it. Then the following Friday, it's a 9-point lead for Baker again. And then the elections come in, and it's a dead heat, right? It goes till the next day, practically, before they can declare a winner. It is frightening how few people in the media control what's happening in this state.
Let me tell you something. There isn't a day that goes by that Marty Walsh isn't afraid of it. I'm speaking out of school, but I know the Globe did not want him. They wanted a minority.
Yeah, but
they look at him as just another white Irish guy, which he's not. The Globe, they targeted him. Everything that comes.
But
out.
Here's the thing, Steve.
And Menino got a free ride.
The media can't control a mayor's race as well as they can control the public opinion of a governor.
They can make his working life a hell.
DeVal Patrick got away with so many missteps and so many cases of gross mismanagement and adding employees. I never heard one example of somebody who was added to the state payroll purely for political reasons. You go back about 15 years ago, if you hired a guy to be a custodian at the State House, they went, who did he know? Who's his relatives? You watch.
I would also say with DeVal Patrick that everyone pretty much acknowledges who follows state government that he kind of checked out of governors for like over a year before the election. And yet, while that would occasionally be alluded to by media coverage, they generally let him get away with it. If a Republican had been in that position and checked out, they would have made it out to be a major scandal that he wasn't doing his job.
Instead, the first question you would get at every stop is, will you be running for president? Oh, my God.
Yeah. Now, listen, I want to go back to national politics, okay? And I want you to just think about this, okay?
Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah, okay. So the whole world, sends somebody to Paris for that march, right? And the United States sent no one. Is that now? The woman from the State Department said it was more or less a blunder, and she looks like she's about 9
And
years
his
old.
spokesperson did too. Obama.
She looks like she's about 9 years
talk about
old. Do you see
gravitas.
you see the spokesperson for the State Department? She looks
awful.
17 years old.
Right.
Now, is that just a huge blunder, or is that a conscious choice? How does that happen?
Well, I think it was a conscious decision at the time that they just were not relating to what was going on. And a lot of liberal comics, like Jon Stewart and Bill Maher, really lampooned the president and the administration generally for their failure, because apparently they don't really, they're so afraid of having people think that not being politically correct or anti-Islamic or whatever, that they would not come down on the side of freedom of expression in a big way. I mean, that their instinct should have been, yes, we definitely have to have someone there, if not the president, at least the vice president.
Not to mention, what better place for the leader of the free world to be than in that environment to be able to say to each one of those leaders, it's time for us to bind together in order to take on this menace.
Holder was across the street?
Yeah, he was in Paris.
I know. That is really shameful that Holder was there and instead doing, by satellite, TV interviews back here instead of being there.
Do you know
Ridiculous.
also that Germany, France, England, which are all liberal democracies, they all refer to it as Islamic terror, and the United States did not.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
No, it's such a huge. I think this will be an historical blunder. I mean, in terms of foreign policy, in terms of a lost opportunity for us really to be truly in alliance with Europe, and instead.
But I just don't get it. I can't believe it was a conscious.
That's what I mean. We see on Cuba and immigration that the president was willing to be assertive, for his liberal base, and because he thought, okay, I'm going to be defiant and be bold here. And yet on this case, it was so obvious where the country needed him to be bold as opposed to just his political base. His instincts were instead to do the easy thing.
I'll tell you something. People go on and on about the First Amendment. This is the essence of it, where people actually lose their lives for.
Right.
You know what? I'm starting to bum myself out, and I'm going to get off it.
No, but let me switch gears, because Todd, in addition to being a political analyst, he knows his movies. But I want to talk about some of the movies.
Let's plug his books first.
And let me go to this point here, because this is bugging me too. If there was 12 Years a Slave was worthy of nominations and awards last year because it was a quality movie, to those who now attack the Oscar committee for not selecting Selma for more than Best Picture, are they basically saying, let's bring affirmative action to the Oscars? I mean, that to me is we're in the wrong place.
You know what? You got to understand, Joe. It's an insulated world. It's ultra-liberal. I mean, I'm in it.
Yeah, so it's an insulated world. It's ultra-liberal.
Yeah.
So chances are, that it's not a racist selection process. No, so that's my point. It's like, can we get beyond the black and white thing?
In fact, I saw Larry Wilmore in his premiere show last night, his new show that replaces the Stephen Colbert, and he was saying, well, the Yellow, the guy who was portraying Martin Luther King Jr., who didn't get the nomination. He says, I don't care about that brother because he's British. But the politics now in Hollywood, of course, there's more focus on American Sniper, that having such a huge box office opening, and Hollywood, the nominations not giving it its due, including Clint Eastwood as director not getting it.
And Michael Moore.
You can point out injustice in a lot of these things.
But Michael Moore feeling the need to talk about a sniper being a coward.
In a way, you guys are all buying into the importance, or the Oscars are one big
click.
Commercial. What do you call it? What do you call a commercial? An infomercial for the film business. The only reason that people give them this importance that they shouldn't have. You know,
it's
I mean,
political.
It's
You know,
No, I
who
agree,
knows
and they're
who-
swayed by all these pressure groups who
They
are
get lobbied.
pitching for their movies, and they're advertising in the Hollywood trades, and there's
And let me
all
tell you
sorts of
something.
politics.
Year after year, I get overlooked, Joe.
Yeah. No, overlook. You should be the MC, right?
Yeah.
No,
You know?
I want to be nominated for the Equalizer as the diner guy.
No, you should as best actor, but also
Supporting
too.
actor.
And by the way, I put on my calendar, Steve has a performance in Marshfield coming up the end of this month.
Oh yeah, let's plug that at
Let me tell you
Venus
something.
2, and that is
It's you know what? I'm going to call Joey Voices. Would you do that,
Joey
Joe?
Voices is a
and
listener.
Make sure Todd Dompke gets on the list because it's completely
Joey Voices,
it's
if
completely,
you're out there,
it's completely sold out.
call in at
Oh, is it really?
7:40.
Oh, my
Is it
gosh, I
really?
did put it on the calendar.
But you know what?
Yeah.
Todd Dompke is a special guest of mine, and you tell your friend Joey
I'm
Voices
willing to
that.
go standing room only.
Yeah.
I'll stand in the back.
And by the way, Joey Voices told me I might be allowed to sing with him that night. Which, if that's the case,
Oh,
wow.
suddenly I see that I am busy that night. I thought I was free.
You know
Oh.
what?
Fell into that one.
That's a great choice you made.
Wow. Hey. No, hey, Joey Voices, if you're out there, call at 7:40. We got Tim Fox.
No, he doesn't have to call. You got to call him and make sure Todd Dompke is on that list.
Okay,
Yes
Todd,
list.
here's our exit question,
Yes.
all right?
Okay, go ahead.
Prediction for the Patriots game. Now, give us your analysis.
We need the score.
Yeah.
I want the score.
Geez. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to say the Patriots by just a touchdown. I want to be
We'll take it.
conservative. I certainly think they outperformed most expectations last
my
time. I
God.
would like to see this game, though, played where they just took all the air out of the footballs. Just throwing the pigskin, you don't need it to be in any shape. Just throw it down there.
You know,
It would make it more interesting.
but you know, it's funny because it's all about perception.
Yeah.
See, we think this way, and the rest of the country doesn't. They still think Belichick's up to something because they're so blinded by their hatred.
Well, may I tell you something?
Yes.
Like a
Back
Red
in the
Auerbach
day
type of
when Red Auerbach was winning year after year, okay, he turned up the heat in the visitors' locker room, right? All these different
Cold showers.
the cold showers, the floor on the parquet had dead spots.
Right.
The great story is the Detroit Pistons with their bad boys, they come in. They were the only team in the NBA that had a private jet, you know. So now they play the Celtics. It goes into overtime. They go to Logan Airport. There's a curfew at Logan. You can't fly out after midnight. So now the Massport people tell Daly and the leadership of the Detroit Pistons, you can't go back to Detroit for tomorrow's game. You have to stay at a hotel tonight and fly out in the morning. He says, I know what this is all about. This is Red Auerbach. He's telling you to do that. So it gets to the point where it works to Belichick's advantage. You start wondering what's coming next. You know?
It spins.
It is good, though, that Patriots won so overwhelmingly that nobody can argue that it made any difference.
The Patriots are the Yankees. We hated the Yankees. People hate the Patriots. They don't want to see the success. But
that's true.
We need a final score because I have to start figuring out what I'm going to bet on the total. So what's the final
Don't
score?
go with me. No, I don't want to jinx you. You go. I'm just going to say something like 21-14.
21-14. Very good.
Wow.
All right. Okay.
No, it's
All
going to
right.
go
Yeah,
way over
yeah,
that.
yeah.
There's going to be a lot of
Gonna be a lot of
You know
points.
what? I just want to tell him good pick. You know, he's an expert in a lot of fields.
But not-
Sports is not one of them.
not the total.
Todd Dompke,
true.
thank
You are
you
the
for
best.
joining Sweeney Malone.
Okay, take care, guys.
We're going to send you a gift certificate. All right, from Filene's
And
basement.
I am now texting Joey Voices because you're going to be my special guest
Wow.
at the Venus 2.
And you will be acknowledged. You will be acknowledged as a special guest. Thank you, my friend. Ryan, should we go to break or should we call Tim? Oh, here we go. WATD 95.9, Sweeney and Malone. We will be right back. Welcome back to Sweeney and Malone. We're here with Bob Hilberg and Steve Sweeney and Margot the Magnificent and
let me tell you
Ryan the
something.
Reactionary.
The band that just played
the Beatles.
are just like the Patriots.
Yeah.
Like them or love them, they're the most successful band of all time.
That's right. Exactly.
And how can you not love the
well
Beatles?
said. And by the way,
how can you not love the Beatles?
you love the Beatles.
Frank
by the way,
Sinatra
by
said
the way,
something is the greatest love song of all time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Imagine that. Yeah, man.
All right,
Man.
is
By the
Tim-
way,
yes.
by the way, I watched a documentary. There's all these Beatle documentaries. So
Yeah.
who was that? Brian Epstein, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
They're talking about what he, his legacy and everything else. They said he was the one who convinced the Beatles they should write their own music rather than just doing covers.
And you know who they call
Buddy
the fifth?
Holly, yeah.
You know who they call the fifth Beatle?
Who?
Tim Fox.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Tim Fox.
And he is on the line.
Wow. In
Ohio
fact,
State.
when the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan Show, now that you mention, I remember that
And
Ed,
you know what happened?
What?
Here's what happened. Ed, people don't know this. He interviewed John Lennon.
Yep.
Did you know it went something like this? And now one of the finest Beatles is John Lennon. John, how did the band get started, and where did you think about the hair? Well, it was very important at the time that we just play our records over in Hamburg. And one of our biggest fans, Tim Fox, he took time out from his busy life at Ohio State. Timmy, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, guys. How about yourself?
Oh, you're on a roll. You are on a roll.
Yeah, Ohio State, New England Patriots.
You got to go on the speakers circuit. You got to go on the America's Guest circuit. You won't pay for one. Not that you ever did, but you won't pay for one fee at a country club.
Hey,
this
Tim,
year.
Tim, were you all pro every year?
No, I was not.
1980.
Only two.
All right. Did you
That's
play?
enough.
Did you play in the Pro Bowl?
I did, yes.
Yep.
All right. Now, you play in the Pro Bowl, and you're risking your health. Yes or no?
Yeah, yes, you are. I mean, every time you step on the field, you're risking your health. Yes.
All right. So now this Sunday is the Pro Bowl. Nobody's talking about it,
All
of
right.
course.
All right.
So how do they convince these guys to play in that? Do they really tackle in the game, or what's the deal with that game?
Well, it's not as an intense level of play as what you would normally see, and then obviously anyone that's the unfortunate thing is typically when the two teams that ultimately make it to the Super Bowl, supposedly should have the best players in the league, and so none of those guys can play in the Pro Bowl. So when I played in the Pro Bowl, the game was always the week after the Super Bowl. So they've figured out that this is a better solution because it fills in the void between during that week off between the last playoff game and the Super Bowl.
And by the way, it's in Arizona, so it's kind of the kickoff
is the Pro
of the
Bowl
week.
in Arizona?
Yeah, unlike
I
the
thought it
years
was in Hawaii.
It used to be. Yeah.
But I mean, I can see, if I was a player and I know that my career, my livelihood, my family is dependent on my body, I can see why these guys wouldn't want to play in the Pro Bowl.
Well, and to be honest with you, they take a huge cut in pay to play in the game. I mean, for most of these guys, if you figure it out, you got a guy. Take a guy like a top-tier quarterback making $20 million a year, so that's a little more than $1 million a game. He's going to make $40,000 or something to play in this game. Now $40,000 is a lot of money, but it's certainly a pay cut from what he would normally get. Having said that, the same thing happens in the playoffs. I mean, it's very interesting to watch. So you say, why do they want to play in these games? Well, why do they want to play in the playoffs? Because they're making significantly less in the playoffs than they are with their normal salary. At least the top echelon
on a per
players.
game basis.
But in the playoffs, you're playing for something. There's no stakes involved with the Pro Bowl. Who cares who wins?
You'd be surprised. Your salary revolves around how good a player you are. Going to the Pro Bowl cements that kind of legacy for you, and it means you're going to make more money down the road.
All right, Steve, remember a few years, maybe 10 years back, the Patriots had a great rookie running back.
And he was playing in the sand.
He destroyed
Robert
his,
Edwards.
What was it?
Robert Edwards.
All
Wow.
right, Tim, I'm gonna throw something out. These guys think I'm crazy, but I'm going to throw it to the analysts.
Which guys are we talking the general population here, or
I am
talking to anyone in particular?
I am crazy, but remember when Welker was sat for a series because he said something to the press? Now Gronk, what do they call it? Tweeted out that the only reason that they deflated is that you get deflated when you get gronked. Now is Belichick going to have an issue with that?
No. No,
okay.
not at all.
All right.
There you
I'm
go.
crazy.
Not at all. No.
All right. I'm going to go on the record and say all you guys are going to be wrong.
No,
too-
because he
too
pointed out
valuable.
that he's talking about his spike. When he spikes the ball, that they get deflated. I mean, he was kind of just making a joke. It wasn't like.
Well, what did Welker do that offended?
It was about
Belichick?
Rex Ryan's toes.
He took a shot. He took a shot at the coach, and I think
they'd been specifically warned not to go there, and he went there very kind of cutely, and it was very well done to me, if you ask me. And I'm not saying that justified what happened to him either. But
can I suggest this, Stevie?
Whatever happened to fun?
But can I suggest that we take Tim to the subject of the analysis of the game last week, his prediction about the Super Bowl?
Before we do that, we got to get it out of the way. What's your take on this ball thing?
Deflated balls.
Not Joe's deflated ball.
It's unfortunately, the Patriots have a certain reputation around the country for stretching the rules, and not that everyone doesn't do it, and they all do it to a certain extent, but for one reason or another, we seem to be the guys that get pointed out most, and I think a lot of that has to do with their level of success. So everyone likes to try to find.
Before you came on, I pointed out that back in the Red Auerbach era, when the Celtics were winning every year, there were dead spots on the floor. The visitors' locker room had cold showers. The heat was turned up pre-game. You name it. He was in everybody's head.
And the same thing happens in the NFL every week.
Yeah.
It's just that, the Patriots have had the most highly publicized issues. And, just 2 weeks ago, Aaron Rodgers from the Packers said he prefers the ball to be overinflated, and that they like to throw an overinflated ball because he feels he gets a better touch on his passing. Well, no one said a word about that.
That's right.
They're oh, okay, that's interesting. But now, if the Patriots are using an underinflated ball, now that's a big problem. My concern here is that this whole thing on the balls. Each team brings their own balls. They bring 10 balls, and those balls are prepared the way the quarterback likes them to be prepared, so that he can throw them as he sees fit. So some of them are scuffed up, some of them are roughed up with Brillo pads, and so that there's a rough surface to them. But before the game, each team gives the officials 10 balls. The official looks at these balls, he inspects them, he marks them with his initials or some type of marking, and these are for the Patriots, these are for the whoever they're playing, and then they go to the ball boys on the sidelines. So it is what it is. If the officials signed off on the balls, they should be fine. Now, if this whole thing comes down to they have some type of evidence that someone is tampering with the balls on the sideline, that could be a problem. But I don't see that happening. I really don't.
You're the first person that's given this argument any validity at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that being,
And by the way, but now that it's out and the media is all over it, you got an NFL front office that is, they're now covering their backside, right? So,
yeah, and you add that to the fact that there was a lot of discussion about the way the Patriots substituted against the Ravens. They turned around and did it again in the game against the Colts. What
was that? I missed that. What was that all about?
The guy comes out and he says, "I'm not eligible."
But they used the eligible, ineligible receiver, and
the Patriots knew the rules, and the other guy didn't. That's all.
Right, and they're making the defense think a lot more than what you normally would.
Good.
It was what I found very, very interesting was that every time they announced an eligible or an ineligible receiver last Sunday at the game, there was a big cheer that went up from the crowd because the Patriots fans were so proud of the fact that we were able to do that to Baltimore, and we're continuing to do it to the Indianapolis Colts.
Boy, by the way, then they end up scoring on that tackle eligible, which was beautiful, right?
Right.
Oh,
and while it is similar to what they did the week before, it's different. They went with an ineligible receiver, and this week they went with a receiver that shouldn't have been eligible but was.
Let me tell you something, all right, Tim? The Democrats lose, right? And they say, well, it's because the Republicans are vicious. the Republicans lose, it's those freaking Democrats. In other words, no one ever says, well, my team lost. That's it. You know, forget about.
But by the way, so if you're a Dallas fan, you got a lot more to be miserable about for the next several months.
Don't blame the other team.
Right?
You lose.
But the point is,
they're blaming the Patriots for winning.
But the point is, you got two combatants, and then you got the league office that's kind of the judge, and every once in a while they stick their opinion into it. But
listen, the Patriots won by how many points?
45 to 7,
Come
right?
on,
yeah.
cut it out.
So here's
here's what's interesting is that supposedly whatever infraction, if there was an infraction on the inflated balls, I supposedly the complaint was filed right before the end of the first half. Well, you know what? That game was a lot closer in the first half with the inflated balls than the deflated balls than it was in the second half.
So let's switch gears here, Tim. All right? I want to, first of all, talk about the Packers-Seattle game, because I don't think Seattle won that game. I think the Packers lost it. When I saw that defensive back intercept the ball with 5 minutes to go and take a knee immediately when there wasn't a Seattle player even on the television screen, on your worst day, would you ever done that?
No, I do not understand why in the world he went down like that. I mean, he could have got at least. He could have gotten at least another 15 yards.
Right,
I mean,
at least.
Would have put him in field goal range.
And if it was Tim Fox, he might have taken it to the house.
Yeah, well, I mean, as a defensive back, that's what you want to try to do.
Right. You know, so there's right away. I'm sitting there with my wife, and I said, this mentality is going to get them in trouble. They're basically saying this game is over. We just have to run the clock out. And I said, they score now. They hold them. They score now. They kick an onside kick. They can win this game. You could just feel it. You know, like the football gods were saying, Green Bay.
But at the same time, the first half, Wilson was awful. He was throwing.
Wilson was awful, but the Packers were so conservative, and you know that comes from the head coach.
Right.
I'll tell you, I would not. You know, when you see a coach like John Fox, who's had the success that he's had. With the Denver Broncos get fired, after a remarkable 4 years, you got to wonder whether
McCarthy,
what's his name, whether he's an hot water because they had that was the head coach. I mean, they had an opportunity to go for it on fourth down 2 times early in the game, right down on the 1 yard line. Come on.
Terrible.
You got to have some faith in your team.
And his comments after the game even made it worse. He says, we expected we would need 20 points to win this game, so therefore we wanted to take the 3.
But going back to the most bizarre comment, McCarthy said, well, I wanted to go for the touchdown.
I didn't hear that. Right. So who vetoed his decision?
That's what I'm saying. It was bizarre.
So enough of that. Now we go to the Pats. Boy, oh boy! In a big game, you talk about a team that had the right mindset. You know, nobody was choking. Everybody was making the big catch. Everybody was doing their job.
That runner was great.
Man, that was something else, wasn't it, Tim?
Blount reminded me of Jimmy
clearly, the Patriots have a good handle on what they need to do to beat the Colts, and they did it in the first game. They basically took that same page out of the playbook and ran it again. You know, they had great success in running the football. The first time it was Jonas Gray. This time it was Blount. You know, it really doesn't make any difference who you had in there. You got to give a lot of credit to the offensive line who. You know, they struggled early in the season, and even in this game, you know, missing their starting center, they were able to come in and put up that kind of yards. I mean, it's a great. Hey, Bill Belichick and his staff are the best coaches in the league, and I don't think everybody likes to bitch and moan about them, but I don't know how you can argue that. And they've had the most success since Belichick took over the Patriots. No one can match his level of success getting into the playoffs, moving through the playoffs. Yeah. Granted, he did lose his last 2 Super Bowls, but both of those Super Bowls were lost on one play.
Yeah,
I mean, believe me, there's no comparison
and by the way,
to any other staff.
And both of those plays were extraordinary plays. You know, I mean, geez.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know what? I got to disagree with you a little bit. I thought Blount was amazing.
Oh, he was.
Those guys.
No disagreement there.
They got to run
against
talking
about the line,
Seattle.
You know. What's that?
You think they can run against Seattle, Tim?
I do. I mean, Seattle's it has a little bit better run defense. They're a more physical team, but I think that
I think that's one of their weaknesses. Yeah.
I was rooting for Green Bay.
I was too,
because I would have rather seen them play Green Bay because I wanted to see the rematch. I like the fact that they lost to them in a close one during the regular season. I think that.
And by the way, Tim, Green Bay at home was undefeated. On the road, they were 4-5, counting this last playoff game. They were a horrible non-Lambeau.
I felt like Seattle was just not there.
Oh man,
there was something off about Seattle that last game. What do you think?
If you want my honest opinion, if you go player to player and judge them strictly on a personnel standpoint, I think overall the Seahawks probably have a more talented team. I think they have,
and they were at home,
not at quarterback, although they get great production out of him in his own way, but they didn't get that last week.
He was awful.
He was awful. Right.
Yeah. If they play in the Super Bowl like they played last week, the Patriots run over those guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know what's going to happen. That's why they play the damn games.
Yeah. That's right. And it's basically a pick. So
Sweeney, did you get your bet in early when they were the underdog?
Seattle was 2.5. Unfortunately, I support small business, and I think you know what I'm talking about. I don't support the offshore people. Yeah, that would have been. I love the Patriots in this game. I just think there's a mindset. I said it before the game. I don't see how the Patriots or anybody else can beat Seattle. And then when I saw them, I said, wow, they are very vulnerable, especially at the quarterback position. That kid choked the first half. He threw.
Well, he's a young, very young quarterback, and if
you can beat a young quarterback.
We got 2 weeks to prepare,
right?
If they believe me, they are going to study what Green Bay did, and they're going to study what worked against him, and they're going to replicate it, and they're going to replicate it and more. And so, if they are as successful as Green Bay was in disrupting what he's seeing and how he's making his decisions, the Patriots will win that football game.
Tim,
if they aren't, they won't.
To use this sometimes overused word, but the chemistry of this team for the Pats seems really good, huh?
Oh, no question. Yeah. I mean, it's been it's been good. They really ran into a roadblock, at the beginning of the season, when they made the big trade, and then after that, they've been coming together, and it's the team that wins the Super Bowl is the team that's playing best at that time.
Yeah.
And you see that over and over and over. And right now, if you ask me, and clearly, if you look at the two games that were played on Sunday, the Patriots are playing better now than anybody else in the league.
What other team has ever gone this far with a receiver like Edelman? It's like 5 foot, whatever he is. It's amazing. You don't see. That's not the position. That's not the prototype of a wide receiver or whatever the heck.
Was the MVP.
That's for sure. But I mean, you're taking credit away from the combination of Gronkowski. You've got Amendola, who's come on very strong here late in the season, and then JoJo LaFell has been a big addition to this.
And
it gives them a deep option to LaFell. A nice tall guy. And so, this is a totally different passing team than what it was last year or the year before.
There's a report in the Patriot Ledger today that Hernandez is going to get a weekend pass.
Oh, come on. Jeez. Don't mention the H word. Don't mention the H word.
Who is the tight end now besides Gronk?
Humanuma.
Yeah.
Humanuma, and then Tim Wright is the guy that came in the trade. And don't be surprised if you see him. Believe me, he gives them a valuable option in having two tight ends in there, but also having, he's kind of a hybrid. He's a tight end, and he gives you a little bit of an advantage in blocking rather than having a wide receiver in there, but he's almost as good as a wide receiver in terms of running routes and being able to throw the ball to him.
Yes, indeed.
I tell you, I am having so much joy from watching this whole thing transpire because, again, we're all spoiled. It's all been incredible.
You don't think they could let him out for a weekend so we could get another good tight end?
Brady doesn't need him. But I want to touch on this.
Blocker.
So let me touch on this for a second.
Yes.
I didn't remember the Ted Williams era, so I remember the Bobby Orr era.
Yep.
I remember the
Steve Sweeney era.
Yeah, the Steve Sweeney era. No, the Bill Russell and the Larry Bird eras. You know, but Brady, in terms of his legacy, Tim, unbelievable, huh?
Well, you're seeing records being set that will never be replicated. I mean, it's incredible that that we've had such a combination of coaching and playing here for the last 15 years. I mean, so enjoy it. I mean, I do think that New England Patriot fans are spoiled by the level of success, and I think that, the people around the country that want to point the fingers at the Patriots and try to talk about Spygate and deflating the balls and they're just jealous. I mean, because of the level of success they've had.
We're going to look back on this season. They're going to say the best team they played was Baltimore, my opinion. The
toughest
Baltimore
game.
played them the best. There's no question. I don't know if they're the best team, but
they weren't the best team. But
it's about matchups, right?
But they had the pass rush.
Yeah, they match up well against them. Yeah.
They're fierce
so when you see Brady, do you kind of bust his chops about Ohio State being national champion and Michigan being just stuck in the basement?
Well, you have me mistaken for someone who runs into him a lot, which I don't. But I will tell you that when I do see him, and when I have seen him in the past, there has been a little bit of repertoire going on.
Yeah, I would think, right? Have you ever played golf with him?
No, I have not. No, he's a much better golfer than I am, as Joe, you would know.
Oh, you're a sandbagger, Tim.
Can I tell you my interactions with Brady?
Yeah.
You're not going to like this.
What?
I felt he was living in Marina Bay, and I said, I'm going to leave this guy alone.
Yeah.
He was wearing a hat down. I said, you know what? The best thing I can do is just leave him alone. And then I saw him at the Boston Common Party, that magazine?
Yeah.
The big one,
Improper Bostonian.
Yeah, and, and then I saw him with his wife at the Commons movie theater there, and they were buying tickets. They looked very happy.
Yep.
And I felt like the best thing I could do is just leave this guy alone.
Now, you know what? I've had a chance to talk to Brady. He goes, I saw Sweeney at Marina Bay. I said, I'm just going to leave him alone. I'm not going to go up to him.
Exactly what he thought. Yeah,
exactly. Sweeney's got everybody coming at him. I'm not going to do that.
But I think he is probably one of the most famous people in America now, Brady. And he's hard to miss. He's about 6'6", isn't he?
Yeah,
6'5".
I think he has a better chance of getting reelected than Obama.
Yeah, absolutely, and rightfully so. He'd be a better president. He's a stronger leader. He's willing to take a stand.
Tim,
I'm glad you said
what
that,
about
Joe.
the controversy of me getting a house in Hull? What's the feeling down there?
Yeah.
What's the deal?
And by the way, there were civil rights laws against banning people from a town.
They don't want me in Situate. We've decided that. What
Yeah.
about Hull?
Well, no, you're not no, you can't be in Situate, but you'd fit right in Hull.
Yeah. Drunk, alcohol.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, I hate to do it to you, but my dinner's on the table.
Hey, go ahead, man. Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
So I'm looking, enjoy it. The next 2 weeks will be the most miserable weeks of my life.
Why?
So let me just make the announcement to every one of your listeners. I do not have access to Super Bowl tickets.
All right, very good. Yeah, very good.
If I am fortunate, and if I'm very lucky, the Crafts will see fit to allow me to buy 2 tickets for this game. And that's it.
Wow.
And believe me, anybody and everybody in the world will be above me on that priority list.
He's
when all is
sandbagging.
said and done, and they have a couple left, I might get a chance to buy some for myself. But I'll be there. I'll be there covering it for Channel 7.
I was going to say, Channel 7 will put you down there. Hey, Tim, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tim.
Give the bride our best.
You know what? I'll
appreciate
call you off the air about my tickets.
Yeah,
thanks. Okay.
Take care. Tim Fox, ladies and gentlemen, on Sweeney Malone.
Yeah, and you know what? We still got a few minutes left.
Well, we're lucky. We're lucky.
I want to make an announcement. Next week we will not be on the air.
What?
No.
Why not?
You talked to Larry. The 28th, we're not on the air. Next Tuesday. But, Bob, you've been patient. You've sat through the whole show. So let's plug everything you've got here. What do we got here? We got the new calendar.
Well, I got the calendar. It's the history of Boston, why we love Boston. And I want to say hi to everyone in Bridgewater, Raynham, where I went to school. Go Trojans.
How can people get this?
This is the history of Boston. Anything that happened on a particular day in the history of Boston, like, January 20th, 1961 is when Paul Revere's house became a historical landmark. So there's information here about Charles Dickens and Helen Keller and Margaret Hamilton and Bruce Springsteen and Elvis and the Beatles playing the Suffolk Downs.
You are a researcher. And what is your big book? The History of the Patriots, right?
Total Patriots, the history of the Patriots.
Total Patriots. Yep. Then your other book is Tom Brady versus everyone else.
Tom Brady versus the NFL. That was actually done by Sean Glennon, but there's some quotes in there from me.
Okay.
But this is Why We Love Boston. You can get it at Annie's Book Stop right over in Route 44 in Raynham, but also in Faneuil Hall and superfans.com.
Now, for those people that want Super Bowl tickets,
yes.
What is your home number?
555-333-1166.
Listen, if you talk about Super Bowl tickets, anyone can get Super Bowl tickets. Yeah. All you have to have is $2,000.
Yeah, that's right. It's all about money.
On this.
All about money.
It's saying that because the Patriots are in it so much, some of the fans of the Patriots have been spending so much money to go to these games the last couple of years that it was $2,000, then $1,800, it's $1,600. Really? Some of the prices are dropping to $1,200. And they're saying the best time to buy tickets is about 2 days before the game.
Yeah, I see that with the Final Four. It
kind of waited out. You might be able to get some for $600-700.
Hey, by the way, we have a caller calling in. Sir, where are you calling from?
My name is Brendan Sloan, and I'm calling from Milwaukee, Wisconsin at Marquette University.
You know what? Tell us, is Milwaukee must be the most depressed city in America, is it?
Oh, my goodness. It was unbelievable. You do not believe the atmosphere at campus.
And you're the nicest people in the country. And you know what killed me was that freaking onside kick.
Oh, I know. I was, so Marquette, it's close enough to Chicago where you've got a lot of Bears fans.
Yeah.
So personally, I'm from Chicago. So I was watching with a bunch of Bears fans, and when the Seahawks made that drive and then the onside kick, too, we were all just going nuts. And then when Curse made the touchdown when he scored,
the overtime,
we were all screaming of joy. But then, meanwhile, the other side of the dorm, the Packers fans were screaming in tears. It was. I've never seen anything like it.
So what's the fallout since then? Who are they blaming? Is McCarthy the bad guy, or who's getting the blame for it?
Well, frankly, there's a lot of
blame to go around. Yeah.
McCarthy and Rodgers himself.
Yeah.
Even though he played great.
How can you blame Rodgers?
Yeah, he was okay. He was so-so, you know? Yeah,
but the guy, look, the guy goes into the game, everybody's worrying about his cap. They never would have got there except for
picture this.
Rodgers.
But picture this. His first half, he had 2 interceptions, I think. He had a chance to put them away.
Yep.
Well, and a lot of people were very upset that they left points on the table the first half.
Because
a lot of people were saying that it should have been over at the first half if they scored.
4th and 1, 4th and goal, you got Lacey in the backfield.
I can't see, if you're a football fan, why you wouldn't root for the Packers, the tradition, the whole thing. You just see the uniform.
No, you're right. Vince Lombardi.
There's just something about it.
And the whole state of Wisconsin, right? I mean, they are just so in love with the Packers, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's quite the scene here.
I think the heartbreaker was the onside kick. And, everybody hates the Patriots, but what about Seattle? I mean, they've got the punky kind of thing and the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't like Seattle. I mean, that guy Sherman is a big mouth.
Yeah.
He got in Brady's face. The guy's got no class.
Yeah.
After whenever the last time they played was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Right. Seattle.
While they're shaking hands after the game, he's in his face. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for calling from Wisconsin,
thank you,
my
buddy.
friend.
All right, we are not on
Go Patriots.
We are not on the air next week.
Yeah.
But have a great game. Go Patriots. This one's in the bag.
And eat a lot of cannolis from Montilio's. It's good luck. Sweeney and Malone. We'll be back soon. Thank you for listening.